Thanks all for coming. Happy Pride and happy Canada Day in 2 days. She's been working with for over 20 years with technology, performance, and installation, and I find her one of the most compelling artists in Canada today. Without further ado, Diane Burgoyne.
Thank you. I don't know if you came to the performance last night or
2 days ago.
2 days ago, but what I did was I had 10 of these, what I call sound drawings. This light is really great. Sound drawings. So what happens here is that there's a little circuit that.
Can everybody hear her?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little circuit that produces a sound, and the way that it produces the sound is that in order for the sound to be created, there has to this point and this point have to be connected together with some kind of resistance between the 2 points. And because graphite conducts electricity, the amount of graphite between this point and this point actually determines the frequency of the sound that comes out of here. So in the performance, I had 10 of them set up in the room, in the round, so that the acoustics of the speakers would create some interest, and then I drew. This drawing is one of the ones that I started, and then after I finished drawing, I let the audience actually play and create the space. The whole idea is that you can change the acoustic space at the same time as you can change the visual space. So I was sort of playing with that idea. So it's just to show you how this is working. And you see that eraser is a very important tool in this performance. And then if you want to get it going again, because now I've got that, you can create another avenue for it to go there. So it's come down here, hit this line, and gone back up there. Anyway, so you can get the idea. The thing about this circuit is that you can put anything between those 2 points to create sound. And so I've taken one of the circuits off of the drawings to give you an illustration of how you can actually play a banana. I do this with grade 4s and 5s. Can you imagine they kind of get off on the fact that you can play a banana? You can also play it in other ways, because not only does the banana conduct, but our bodies are so moist that we actually conduct as well, so you can... So if you do a combination of both, you could actually put together a little tune, or whatever. So you have a banana composition. The other thing you can do with it is, I need a volunteer from the audience. Alan, since you're right there. I might as well do my whole grade 4 or 5 shtick here.
Hold it.
Hold it. Make sure your finger's nice and moist. The middle part there. Yeah, I'll hold this part here. Yeah. You put your hand like that. So we're actually using moisture in all these ways. And over the years, I've actually, I think I'm probably one of the few artists that have spent 20 years working with one simple circuit. I've been using the circuit in a whole variety of ways. Example. Here what I did was it's the same circuit, but I put a little photo sensor in between the 2 points. And so what happened here is that I've got 20. You know how it was squealing when you know how it squeals when I put in the banana, that loud squeal? Can you imagine 20 of those lying on my body? So I have 20 of those all squealing like this, and in order to shut the circuit off, the viewer is expected to come and stand at my feet, and when they do, their shadow falls right on top of my body. and when the shadow falls on top of the body, it shuts the 20 sounds off. So sort of like the only way that they can control the space is by kind of standing above me and putting their bodies in this kind of position of control over the sound. Now, I've performed this piece in a number of different situations and had a number of, I never really knew what to expect when I performed, because you're inviting people to interact with you, and at some level you want them to be engaged, but on other levels they kind of sometimes engage with you in ways you don't expect. Like quite often actually what people would do is they would end up gathering all around me, and people would start hearing differences of the different pitches of some of the circuits and start to play my body with their shadows over top. I've had people come up and start lifting my feet and poking me. And what I did here was, again, it's the same circuit, but what I did was I wove it into a mask. And what happens here is that the circuit, the sound, I took a frequency that's just like a beep, so it'd be going like that. And I would go and perform by, this is a little truck, and so there are wheels on the bottom here. And at the top there's a copper wire head that's sort of been made using the copper, and there's a sound sensitive circuit that's woven in. So what would happen is that the sound sensitive circuit, when it would hear my beep, when I got really close to the mask, would hear the beep and it would activate the truck. And so the truck would move like 2 feet ahead, but then of course it couldn't hear me beeping anymore, so it would stop. So the whole piece was about having my face coming up to this thing, hearing it, it would scoot away. So we'd do this, it was like a dance. I was like chasing this mechanical head forward. And the whole idea about it was that eventually the truck would hit a wall, and there was a switch at the front of it, and the switch would reverse the whole relationship. And instead of me chasing it, all of a sudden it would come at me, and when it would hear the it would stop, and then I would move back, and then it would chase me and back. So I chased it, and then it chased me.
Do different people's bodies create different sounds, like you were touching things?
Yeah, they do. I was doing this at a children's festival one year, and this little boy came and started doing it, and then and he was playing away, and he was making all these squealing sounds, and then his grandmother came along and did it, and she made clicking sounds. She's going, you know, how come Granny sounds different? And the difference is that as we age, we lose so much moisture in our skin. So older people are lower frequency. You get little kids with sweaty hands, they do it, and it goes, and you get somebody else, and it's quite a bit lower. So it also depends what kind of activity you've done that day, obviously, and temperature outside and stuff like that. So it really is like a moisture monitor. Mm-hmm. But people's sounds definitely do make a difference.
Did you ever consider working with more rich tone generating devices rather than sine waves?
Well, this is a square wave, actually. Yeah, this one's a square wave, and I did start to play with building a little sine wave generator. So the difference between a sine wave and a square wave is basically, how this sound kind of sounds like a sine wave is more like woo, so it's acoustically a lot more beautiful or easier to listen to in the ear. And when I did, I actually went back to using the square wave because I realized that a lot of what my work's about is creating a kind of tension from the sound. Like the harshness of the sound creates a kind of energy in the space, or a kind of uncomfortableness in the space, which then sort of drives the viewer to actually participate, to try and make it stop or to change it to. What I'm using right now is I'm using a 10-second chip that records sound. And I've just finished building a piece that I call Audio Quilt. And in this piece, what I did was each one of those squares has 10 seconds of sound sampled in it. And there's a light sensor, so when you stand in front of the square, depending where your shadow falls on each square, will determine which one is turned on. The Audio Quilt was built at a community center where I spent a lot of time. I kind of immersed myself into that community. And I talked to a lot of people, and I got their voices talking about the community center and whatnot. So one was an ever-changing quilt, it changed day to day, the acoustics changed day to day, and the other three were ones that had been pre-prepared so that they would work. But it was sort of this idea of the audio reflecting the community.